Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Rich in Femininity. For those of you that may not know who I am, my name is Shye. The reason why I wanted to get into podcasting, aside from the fact that it was very highly requested, I wanted to give myself the opportunity to connect with my community on a deeper level, and 30 to 60 second videos, aka TikToks or Reels or even stories, just aren't enough. You do need that long form content to explain things and just talk about stories and really share my experiences like in detail and be able to explain things thoroughly. So getting back into long form content is something that I already wanted to do, and right now podcast is it's such a great way to deliver content. It's so multifaceted. People listen to it, people watch it. You could also cut it into snippets for reels and so on. So just to give you guys a quick little background, I was born and raised in Kissimmee, Florida. So if you know Orlando, it's right next to it. Kissimmee is kind of like a little Puerto Rico, and I like to represent that city as much as possible. But unfortunately, I've noticed that sometimes when I do get featured in the media, they immediately change it to Orlando. I got interviewed by the New York Post, and I said Kissimmee specifically, and they changed it to Orlando, and that also happened with other media outlets. So again, I like to make a major emphasis that I grew up in Kissimmee because that is my background, and it ties together with my Puerto Rican background because it's like little Puerto Rico, and no one can edit this out because this is my video, so we're gonna keep Kissimmee in there. So like I mentioned, I'm Puerto Rican, grew up in a Puerto Rican household. The entire city itself was very in tune with the Spanish culture, which has little sprinkles of its little toxic traits and just things that we feel like are normal but are probably not. So as a child, I was the firstborn. My brothers and I have a very huge age gap, so I kind of was like that babysitter situation, and I grew up very independent because my parents did divorce at a very young age. Both sides were just focused on their job and their work, and because I was so independent, they knew that I was going to be responsible, do my own homework, go and do whatever I had to do for school, and just take care of myself. I was a scholar student. I would basically get a bunch of A's and then a little sprinkles of B's, got scholarships. I was just always in honors, in honor roll, and just all sorts of recognition. I started college when I was 15 years old. There was a dual enrollment program that I think is most familiar in the US. Not sure how many other places have that, but yeah, so I started going to college at 15. I actually got my first job around the exact same time. So I was going to high school during the day, going to college at night, going to work on the weekends. And at that moment, I didn't realize what I really truly was doing was escaping my household and things that happen in my personal life. And I was just always trying to be busy, to not think of life and what's going on, and at the same time doing the most in attempt to make my parents proud. I would say I was just trying to accomplish something and just be a something so people could be proud of me. After I graduated high school, things got really serious. I needed to get my own apartment right at 18. And as things were starting to feel like they were getting into place, they actually started really falling apart, to the extent that I even ended up in a very abusive relationship at that exact time. I got fired from my job, my car got totaled, and I don't even remember why it wasn't replaced. So things got really real for me after high school, and that's the pivotal moment of when I would say that I didn't choose entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship chose me, because the survival mode was just next level, where you're literally living alone. I was going to college to become a lawyer, and I kept saying, I just want to own the building. I just want to own the law firm. Until I realized maybe I just want to be the business owner. At that exact same time, I was working at a nightclub, and I remember the bottles of Bacardi, the big ones, are $15, $20, and we were selling $18 mojitos. And I'm that is literally insane. The owner of this nightclub is making so much money. So that's when my mind really shifted back into, I really need to take this serious. And it was a long journey, in and out of trying and then not trying and then failing and then seeing some success. And it was just so crazy. I feel I tried to do everything in the book in the past, And thankfully for social media marketing, I finally got my money spot. So what ended up happening is I had a mid-20s crisis in the shower. I was like bawling, crying, because I was like, oh my God, I'm almost 25. And then after you're 25, I felt like, oh my God, you're almost 30. Like, and I don't have like figured out. At that same exact time, that's when people were like graduating college from like my high school and like having kids and getting married and all like the whole package. And I just felt like, wow, I'm just bartending right now. At that moment, I had seen a couple people who I either went to school with or worked with, like I knew in real life, and they were killing it on social media. I just knew that I was also capable of using social media to have some type of business, to do something. I didn't know 100% what yet, but I did reference back to the course, the social media marketing course. I also knew that I needed to work on my social media presence and my followers, my growth, the aesthetics, the photos, the content, everything. One of my friends recommended this growth bot. So I had used it for my own platform at that time. And I had seen on that website where it said like affiliate link or affiliate marketing or white label, like something along those lines. I was like, what does that mean? I had seen that, but I didn't really use it until I had went to a business event and I started hearing so many people ask about social media growth that I was like, oh my God, that website, they have the like white label situation that I can grow an entire business around. So that was my pivotal moment. I was at this business event. I knew that all these people wanted this one thing that I had already seen, that I can white label someone else's entire company and they could do it and I just have to be the middleman. That's when I was just like, okay, well, let me just add all these people on Instagram. And then after that, I did my first, what I would call now, my first IG story sequence that I didn't even know what I really was doing, but I would get on the stories and I would literally use like Snapchat filters. I didn't even care. I wasn't like secure in front of the camera, so I would use these Snapchat filters to just feel cute or something. I don't even know. I don't know what I was doing, but I know that I'm glad that I did whatever that was, because that was what generated me so much money, not knowing that was a part of social media marketing and selling online. So a lot of those people that I met at that business event ended up being clients. That's when I started understanding the power behind going to business events. And I will say business events were like a game changer for me. So social media marketing ended up being like that money spot for me. And there's so many different things under social media marketing, by the way, guys. So it's not paid advertisement. It was IG growth at first, and then I moved on to PR, media, and so on. But that was the beginning. And I would say within like 3 months, I was able to turn that side hustle into the main source of income, and then bartending had become my side gig. And my shifts just kept getting like smaller and smaller. Basically, I went from like 4 days a week, and I asked them to do like 3 days a week, and then 2, and then 1, and it got to a point that I would even go a couple weeks without working because I would just release my shifts. At that point, I was just kind of like scared to leave that job entirely, even though I was making way more on social media already. I didn't know when to like leave. I was just like insecure, I guess I would say. So the 2020 pandemic happened. I had already been in the social media marketing industry since 2018. So people had already known that I know how to make money online and that I do make money online. So many people had already started to ask me on how to make money online. But prior to the pandemic, I wasn't taking coaching serious. I wasn't really taking on clients or students or whoever, and I wasn't helping them. I was just helping my clients. When the 2020 pandemic came around, then that's when I was like, okay, there's an opportunity here because so many people don't have a job literally right now. And I know that a service-based business is a very minimal cost to start and a high profit margins. So that is when I started coaching social media marketing. Got on TikTok and blew up. Both a business account plus a personal account were able to grow really, really fast on TikTok, and that was great. Obviously, it happened really fast because I understood social media marketing and I was really comfortable in front of the camera already prior to, that spike. After getting really good at TikTok, it was like hush hush at first with all the other business owners, because when I had started, there was like literally no business owners on TikTok. Honestly, I think that's what made it even more different of a platform. That is when then I started teaching TikTok marketing in particular, which eventually now I just call it growing your personal brand because it's short form video content. You know, when I first started on TikTok, no other platform had short form video content. Now they all do. So it's just become a part of the content marketing culture in general. But of course, TikTok still has its own little flair, I will say. Fast forward to today, I was able to represent TikTok for Business in 2021, I believe. It was in this WPP Commerce Conference. And then in 2021, I got multiple six-figure students. Then 2022, got my first seven-figure student. And hopefully this year, I will be getting my second seven-figure student now in 2023. Mind you, like I mentioned earlier, I grew up in Florida. When I had that midlife crisis, I moved to Vegas. So I had a mid-20s crisis. I read the book The Alchemist. I had went through a car crash on New Year's that year, and I moved to Vegas. Next thing you know it, I'm going to these business events. I'm getting consumed into social media marketing. But when the pandemic happened, and a couple months after the official shutdown, I went through this very unique, I wouldn't say dark, but very interesting period of time where I felt extra lonely already. And then I was in Vegas with the rest of my family in Florida. So it was kind of weird. So I then moved to Miami. Why did I move to Miami? That is seriously an entire episode in itself on the experience, but I will say that I really had no business moving to Miami, and that was my second time doing it. So I thought, okay, the first time I lived in Miami, I didn't have money like that. I was bartending. Maybe that's why I didn't like it. And then the second time I was like, oh, I have money now. It's gonna be much more fun. But like, no, I did not like it at all. Fast forward from there, then I was miserable in Miami for a whole year, and then I ran loose after that. Came back to Orlando for the holiday for my family, and then pretty much stayed. I was like I would say like a nomad for a long time. For almost a year, I was like in and out. I was everywhere. I was traveling at least twice a month, somewhere, anywhere, and really focused on my business again. And this is me saying the story in a very nice light. So you guys could get the quick rundown in this first episode. But of course, I'm gonna dive very deep into each chapter of my life because there are so many lessons and so many things that the next person can learn from and really resonate with. Because if there's one thing that I have always been very adamant about is being that big sister that I never had, and being able to make someone else feel comfortable in their position and give them the motivation to keep moving forward and make them realize that there's hope and just to keep moving forward. And I also love to talk about imperfections because a lot of people look at certain people and think that their life is completely perfect when it's really not. No one has a perfect life. So that's why I also speak about not only the ups but the downs, so people realize that nobody is perfect no matter how much it may seem. And like I said, this is just episode 1. I had to give you guys the quick overview. There is so much more. I can just keep talking forever and ever if you know me. There is so much more in store for you guys. We're going to be talking about business, marketing, investments, toxic relationships, and of course, femininity, which in the next episode, I'm going to break down the exact meaning of rich in femininity because it's a very powerful meaning and there is a very long story behind it, which needs its own episode. And the reason why I'm a huge advocate and being very vocal about the feminine energy and helping others in that area is because once upon a time, I didn't know what I was doing. I got on TikTok on my side account. I was one of those women that were like, forget guys and this and that, and just very independent kind of woman. And I know that definitely brought a very negative energy to the internet, and it definitely influenced some women the wrong way. And that's when I didn't know any better. Now that's why I'm like, hey, I didn't know what I was talking about back then, and I want to influence people for the better. And now that I know better, I'm gonna do better. Well, thank you for listening, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're listening on audio, make sure to rate 5 stars. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.